Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of round 5 of the 2018 Candidates Tournament. It was a quiet round in many ways, but one game was absolutely insane. These were the pairings of round 5 played on Thursday, March 15th. Aronian against Grischuk, Caruana Karyakin, So Kramnik and Ding against Mamedyarov. In this video we're going to have a look at Aronian against Grischuk, and I'll give you the results of all 4 games at the end of the video. Before this game was played, Aronian had a 6-3 lead over Alexander Grischuk with 24 draws. They have played many games, many classical games against each other. A few pictures from the game. Here you see both players. Grischuk was already in time trouble here, as he always is. A closer look, and you can see there on the clock that Grischuk has less than 1 minute. Close-up from Aronian and a close-up from Grischuk. Let's get to the game. And what a crazy game it was. Aronian white, Grischuk black, d4 from Aronian, knight f6, c4, g6, f3, c5, d5, d6, e4, e6, knight c3. We are in a Ben-Oni opening. A very complicated double-edged opening. The Ben-Oni often gives fireworks, and we'll definitely see those in this game. Grischuk took on d5, Aronian took back with the c-pawn, bishop goes to g7, knight ge2 developing, knight bd7, knight g3, h5, bishop e2, knight h7 to make room for the f-pawn, bishop f4, attacking the d6 pawn. Grischuk protects it with the queen. Queen d2, h4, attacking the knight. Knight back to f1. g5, attacking the bishop. Bishop steps back to e3. Knight e5, nice square for the knight there. g3, and here Aronian said in his interview after the game that he had expected bishop h3 here. He was mainly considering this move, he said, which looks like the way to proceed. He felt that was black's best move. He looked at this variation, Aronian did, g takes, then g4, f4, knight f3 check, bishop takes, g takes, with a complicated position according to Aronian. But Grischuk did not go to h3 with his bishop, he went to d7. According to Aronian, that was not as strong. He took on h4, g takes, and rook g1. Aronian said, a sharp position with many options for both colors, and I felt I was slightly better here. There comes f5, f4, knight g4, and e5 from white. This is a move that white likes to play in the Ben-Oni. If he gets e5 in, then he often has a good game. D takes e5, d6, attacking the queen, queen to e6, and Aronian explained in a press conference after the game that black sets a little trap here. He said, if I make a silly move like h3 to kick the knight out, then there is e takes f4, bishop takes f4, and bishop d4, hitting the rook, and Aronian said black is back in business here. So after queen e6, Aronian did not go for h3, he played knight b5, and he said this was probably winning. That's what he felt during the game. If you take that knight, then there is bishop takes, king f7, and rook c1. And this is indeed very, very good for white. Aronian said, finishing the game on the spot, the black king does not have a good square. This is an overwhelming position for whites. So after knight b5, Grischuk did not take that knight, he played rook c8. Knight c7 check, with a fork on king and queen, so you have to take that knight. Rook takes, d takes, that's an exchange in the bag for white. E takes f4, And now the fireworks start. Aronian played rook d1 here, and it was the FIDE press officer Anastasia Karlovic who said that castling, according to the engine, is +3, and rook d1, which was played in the game, is even. Aronian's reaction was, "What? I thought it would be the other way around." He thought that rook d1 was winning for him and that castling queenside would be even. Then they delved into the variations after castling queenside, and they played f takes e3, and here the engine gives knight takes e3, and that's why castling queenside is good for white, a move not considered by the players. What they looked at is f takes e3 and then queen takes d7 check, queen takes, bishop b5, pinning the queen, so you have to take that bishop, but black has an in-between move, bishop takes b2 check, king c2, then take on b5, the variation goes on, c8 queen check, king e7, queen c7 check, king f6, rook d6 check, and the king hides on g5, and this is actually winning for black. The king is safe on g5, and this was actually the reason that Aronian did not go for this variation. He saw the bishop takes b2 check move, which is really crucial, and that's why he chose another move. But if in this position after f takes e3 he would have seen that knight takes e3 is good for white, then he probably would have played it. But as I said, this move was not considered by the players. It was the engine that came up with it, and the FIDE press officer revealed this to the players. Now back to the move that was played, rook d1. As Aronian said, he thought this was really good for white, but the engine said it's even. So what is happening after rook d1? Well, let's follow the game. Knight g5 was played by Grischuk. Aronian promoted. You have to take. And then queen d8 check, king f7, queen c7 check, and here Grischuk played king g8, and that was in fact a bad move. What black should have played here is queen e7, and after bishop c4 check, king f6, the position is even, and that's why rook d1 is not winning for white but is even. Extremely complicated. Back to the game, let's follow the game. After queen c7 check, the king went to g8. Grischuk was in terrible time trouble. He had under a minute left. Okay, every move he got 30 seconds extra, but this is move 27 and he had to play very quickly up to move 40 in this extremely complicated position. After king g8, Aronian played rook d6. Asking after the game that this was a big mistake. No, it was not. And in fact, Aronian had seen a win here. He saw the win, rook takes g4. It's important to take that knight off the board. It's not only white who has chances against black's king, also black has chances against white's king. For example, if you play bishop takes c5 instead of rook takes g4, then you get checkmated on the spot. Knight f3 is a very nice checkmate with two knights. And of course this bishop is pinned. So Aronian saw the winning line, rook takes g4. And he gave this variation in the press conference, f takes g4, and then rook d6. And he said, I saw it, it's an easy win. And that's the saddest part, seeing a win and not playing it, really annoying. I'm really upset that I didn't play this easy winning line. And he showed the line, the queen is hanging, queen f7 he showed. And then queen takes c8 check, and if the queen interposes there is rook d8 winning the queen, and if after queen takes c8 check the bishop interposes there is bishop takes c5, and this is a winning position for white. The computer is on +6. So, rook takes g4 was winning, Aronian saw it, but he decided not to play it. He played rook d6, which is also still good, although Aronian thought he had made a mistake here. Grischuk played queen f7. Aronian found his good humor back when he showed this line. He said queen e5 would be a funny final trap. It doesn't work for black, but it's a funny line. He showed it. If you now take on f4 with white, which is a big blunder, and you might think it works because the black queen cannot take the bishop because of rook d8 check, check, and winning the queen. But after bishop takes f4, black does not take on f4. He plays knight f3 check, king d1, knight f2 check, king c1, and checkmate. Indeed a funny variation. So all that after rook d6 and then queen e5. We just saw that variation, but Grischuk played queen f7. And that's a move that Aronian had missed, and he thought he had given away his advantage here. Aronian played queen d8 check, and saying afterwards, I don't understand why I played this move. He had seen that instead of queen d8 check, bishop c4 does not work, because then black has bishop e6 and is doing okay. But instead of queen d8 check, queen takes c8 check, taking the bishop with check. Makes sense. This wins for white, but Aronian had not evaluated this correctly. King h7, and then queen takes c5, and now we get a beautiful variation. Instead of queen takes c5, white can also play queen d7 and is better. Grischuk showed this move and said, I thought this was also very unpleasant for black, but the real fireworks are after queen takes c5, because then black can play knight e4, attacking the queen, attacking the rook, and then the only winning move for white is rook takes g4, and this is the move that Aronian had missed here. It's the only move that wins in this queen takes c8 check variation. A question was asked to Aronian in the press conference, how come you didn't see this move after having seen the idea in another line? If you remember a few minutes back, we looked at rook takes g4, which was a line that Aronian had seen, a winning line for him, but in this line he did not spot that move. Aronian's answer was very honest. He said, I lost my cool. I got really upset after black played queen f7. Of course that's unacceptable in such a tournament. I should have spent more time here. It's hard to explain. Very honest and very interesting to see that psychological factors determine a lot, also in top level chess. Aronian was upset, lost his cool, and did not take enough time to find rook takes g4, which he probably would have found if he had spent more time on it. Why is rook takes g4 so good? Well, if black takes the queen, then there is rook takes h4 check. The king has to go to g8, and then rook d8 check. And here it was nice to see Aronian exclaiming, oh, this is really pretty, I didn't see it. And it is really pretty if you interpose the bishop. Then there is rook takes h8 check, king takes back, and bishop takes c5. White will win this bishop because of the pin, and then he will have a rook and 3 minor pieces against the queen and will have a winning position. After all this, after all these fireworks, back to the game. Queen d8 check was played by Aronian, and that does not win. Queen f8, bishop takes f4, knight e6, bishop c4, pinning the knight. Queens were swapped, king went to h7, rooks were swapped, and bishop d6. This was move 34. Grischuk was still in time trouble. Here in the press conference, Grischuk said, black is a bit better here, but in contrast to my position a few moves ago, I felt like I was almost winning. And I was upset I couldn't find any real advantage for me. So both players were upset in this game. What a game this is. Knight g5 was played by Grischuk, and Aronian was asked, what did you think here? And Aronian said, I thought it was the usual thing that had happened, having a winning position and ruining it. Poor Levon Aronian. He played rook g2, knight e4. Black is slightly better here, both players agreed on that. bishop b8, bishop d4, h3, knight e5, bishop d5, black gave a check, king went to e2, another check, king d1, knight back to d3, and this was move 40. Both players got 50 extra minutes on the clock now. Knight d2 from Aronian, knight f6 from Grischuk, and bishop f3 was the last move of the game. Here Aronian offered a draw. Grischuk thought for about 20 minutes, but then he accepted it. Aronian explained why he offered a draw here. It was because of this variation. He thought black would go for knight f2 check to pick up the pawn on h3. And after king e1, knight takes h3, rook h2, attacking the knight. If the knight goes, then there is rook takes h4 check, and this position is indeed equal. Black has a knight and 2 pawns for the rook, and this position is indeed in the balance. What an incredible game. I show you the highlights from the press conference. This game is way too difficult for me, but I don't feel so bad because the grandmasters in the live broadcast and the other grandmaster that I've seen commenting on this position were finding it very hard to make much sense of it. Often they didn't know what was going on. It will require a lot of analysis to dissect this game, but it was a titanic struggle and we saw some beautiful variations. Hope you enjoyed it. The results of round 5, all 4 games were drawn, and 2 were drawn quite quickly. That was Caruana against Karyakin, that really was a very short game, and also Ding and Mamedyarov played a short game. So and Kramnik was the last game to finish. They played many moves, and we saw the fireworks in Aronian against Grischuk. So not many changes in the standing at all. Everybody got half a point extra. Caruana is still in the lead with +2, Kramnik and Mamedyarov on +1. 3 players on 50%, Ding, Grischuk and Aronian, and Karyakin and So are on -2. Round 6 will be played on Friday, March 16th, and we'll see Caruana against Grischuk, So Aronian, Ding, Karyakin and Mamedyarov against Kramnik. I will not be able to post a video on round 6 a few hours after the game as I've done so far and as I will do in the future, because I'm going away for a few days, so I will post the video on round 6 on Sunday, March 18th. But it will be the only round that is delayed. From round 7 till the end I will make sure to post the video a few hours after the round is completed. Hope you enjoyed this video. I want to say thank you very much to William A for his generous donation on PayPal. If you want to support the channel, the link is in the description box. Hope you enjoyed this video. Fireworks in Aronian against Grischuk. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will respond to them all. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.